What an airhead.
I'm a Finn,
Jeez, Mr.
so I was
Takes a
born
swing
in
at
Finland
everybody.
and
This
have
is not her
lived here
fault.
all
She's
my
a
life.
very nice girl
At the same
and,
time,
more
I've been pretty much
importantly, a
raised
fan.
with
She even
American
has a
popular
fan site
culture,
dedicated
comic
to you.
books, TV, movies, books, and it is a huge part of the inspiration, but it's always felt like, this kind of a unique perspective of using that inspiration, but being outside and looking in, and that gives us a unique perspective.
Seriously, Al, what you were saying in the car, just listen to yourself.
Wait here.
Easy there, boy. I'm almost done.
Hey, Rusty, right? You rent cabins.
Oh, Mr. Wake. I'd shake your hand, but mine are kind of full here. Actually, I'm sorry about this. Would you mind grabbing the registration form from the desk? It's just across from Bucktooth Charlie.
Okay, sure. What happened?
Crazy poachers. Max here got his foot caught in a trap. They're illegal to use here. Hell, you're not supposed to hunt within the park at all. But that doesn't stop some lowlifes. Well, at least Max is gonna be okay. He got lucky. Max is still groggy from the shot I gave him, and I'd rather not leave him alone just yet. The form's on the desk across from the mammoth skeleton. Okay, boy. We're almost done here. Shh. That's a good dog.
What, you shot a guy and his body just disappeared? When was the last time you slept? What, are you high? Have you been drinking? Do you understand what it sounds like when you say stuff like that? Don't get me wrong, it's a good story, could be a bestseller. But when you start confusing fiction with reality, you're buying yourself a ticket to the funny farm. Seriously, Al, you can't just go and meet a kidnapper. Those situations always end up in disaster. You gotta talk to the cops.
She's my wife, and it's my call. Can we talk about this later?
No, this whole thing is... Listen, you hit your head. I mean, geez, Al, come on. You gotta understand how crazy all this sounds. If you're trying to pull a joke on me, freak me out, it's working. Ha ha, let's have a laugh on Barry. Well, you had me going there real funny, Al. You can quit it now.
I think this is the form you wanted.
And here are the keys. Okay, you're all set, Mr. Wake. Glad to have you staying here.
Thanks. Can you tell me how to get to Lover's Peak?
Oh, sure. It's at the end of the nature trail. Just follow the paths, you'll get to it eventually. It's an easy walk. Nice spot, too. If you have any trouble finding it, just keep your eyes on the radio mast.
You're
It's
asking
right below
me to
that.
believe that you shot
Oh,
a
and
dude
hey,
who went
if you take a walk in the woods,
into thin air.
watch your steps so you don't end up like Max.
A guy who was bulletproof until you pointed a flashlight at him. You hear that from people who end up spending time... That's just crazy talk, Al. Al? Al? We should go to the sheriff or call the FBI.
Damn it, Barry! They'll kill. This is not a goddamn debate, Barry. I'm going to Lover's Peak.
Okay then. I understand. You're my best friend, and I'm worried that you're not right in the head. Tell me what to do to help, and I'll do it.
You stay here, and if I'm not back by morning, call the cavalry.
Just be careful with the natives, Al. These yokels are dangerous. Everybody hates a tourist, or it'll be Deliverance all over again.
Bless you.
Oh, this place is trying to kill me. I'll bet there's mold in here, spores, poison ivy, God knows what. This is so not worth a 15% commission.
Lock the door when I leave.
Yeah, you go ahead and do what you have to do. I'll be fine. Alone, but fine. In a cabin straight from a horror movie. You want to know where you can shove that flashlight? Watch where you point that thing, Al! Stop it, Al!
Obviously, being a Finn and having lived here all my life, the culture is very much part of me, and you know, can't help but to bring in elements of it into my writing. And I think that that can be seen in the stories of Remedy games, even starting from the original Max Payne. I mean, there was this huge winter storm that was part of the setting of that game. And it's in other games as well.
Real funny. Ha ha! Thank you! I'll just sit here in the dark till you come back. Or until I get eaten by a grue. didn't realize we were back in the 3rd grade here. You're giving me a migraine, Al. You know I'm useless with a migraine. I'll wait here, Al. I'll hold down the fort. I'll be with you in spirit every step of the way, Al. Walk through the door now.
It's true what they say about the fall and the sudden stop at the end. I'd lain here in the snow while the lurid chain of scenes that had led me here kept playing in my head. A rerun of my own private snuff movie. A memory of my corpse. Alone at my own wake. Thinking in metaphors again. The femme fatale was gone. Only a sour taste remained of the kiss that killed me. This was a late goodbye. 13 years after I'd gotten my revenge. It had finally caught up with me. It had been a long time to bear the pain. My blood painted the snow red. A gruesome slushy dissolved all the scattered painkillers and leisurely dripped down to the sewer, mingling with the bile of the city, becoming one with it. I can see them now, my wife and my baby. Honey, I'm home.
In spite of its human mask, to describe the dark presence as intelligent would have implied human qualities on something decidedly inhuman. Nonetheless, it found the one spot in the diner that was dark enough. Some light spilled into the corridor, ravaging it. But it took the pain. Horrible as it was, the writer would soon fix that. He would be coming to the one place where it still had power. The kidnapper fired his gun one last time, and the shadow vanished into the darkness it had come from. See? Nothing to it, Wake. The thought of Alice in his hands was revolting. We stood on the wooden platform of Lover's Peak, the waterfall on the mountain behind us, the lights of the radio mast blinking red in the heights above. I fought with the urge to take a swing, force myself to speak. Let's cut the act now. Where's my wife? Alice looked through the viewfinder, lining up the shot. Cauldron Lake was breathtaking. Something caught her eye. A figure standing in the shadows behind the cabin, like a thin woman in a black dress. She lowered the camera and looked again. No one there. Just a collection of bushes that looked vaguely human-shaped. She shook her head and laughed. Barry had never gotten along with Alice, but he knew Alan loved her with an almost frightening intensity. And now something had happened to Alice. And here was Al armed with a gun and saying things people got put in padded cells for. It was as if his friend had experienced a massive psychotic episode and was now totally disconnected from reality. It scared the shit out of Barry. I knew I should have gone to the cops. This wasn't the smartest thing I'd ever done, but I was still angry with Barry for trying to talk me out of it. These people had called me right in the sheriff's station. The cops wouldn't scare them, and they had Alice.
Welcome back to the show, folks. As promised, our very own Dr. Nelson has just parked his rear end in the studio. Doc, what's your Deerfest plan like?
My plan? You make it sound a lot more organized than I ever seem to manage. No plan, really. Just taking the atmosphere. I'm getting a little too rickety to do much more than that, you know.
Oh, tell me about it. No sack race for us older gentlemen, huh?
Yes, exactly, Pat. But I'm gonna check out the parade, of course. And I'll be one of the pie contest judges, too.
Well, that takes... Different kind of constitution.
Oh, yeah. It's my kind of exercise.
Now, Doc, seriously, you're in pretty good shape, though. You're the outdoors type. I know for a fact you're an avid fisherman.
That's right. Matter of fact, just caught a heck of a largemouth bass early this morning.
But you're not taking part in the fishing contest?
No, not this year. See, Pat, I'm just not that competitive anymore. Now I just like to take my time and enjoy the peace of it. It's no fun if I need to worry about what I'm catching, you know?
Well, considering your track record, the participants are probably pretty happy you feel that way.
Well, Pat, that's kind of you to say.
punishment. The cancer and cure of civilization. But some crimes are impossible to punish, especially in Night Springs. Tonight's episode, The Man in the Mirror.
He's inside, Agent. He's a weird one.
So, you're confessing to killing that guy, huh? Why?
Had it coming?
Yeah, but why would you do that? I mean, you're a nice guy. Normal. Took a kid to a soccer game. So how come at the game, you pick a guy and, quoting from the arresting officer's report here, assault the victim's head area repeatedly with the weapon of choice being a pair of bare fists? Wow, that sentence really flows, huh? Maybe you're not the literary type. Okay, so you mess him up. But why? Who was that guy? We couldn't ID him. Why would a guy like you do him like that?
I didn't like his face.
Well, you must have hated it, because you really went to town there. I mean, there's no way to tell what he looked like. No ID on him either.
That must be difficult.
But then we ran the fingerprints. Got a match. Your prints. Identical.
Huh, how about that?
Your son said you were wearing a white shirt when you took him to the game. But the white shirt is on the dead guy.
It's plenty red now.
You won't get away with this.
Do you really think that's in any way relevant to me? I had plenty of time to talk to my boy before the cops arrived, you know? He won't stop screaming, am I right? You think he's ever gonna be okay? I left my mark. Believe me.
You bastard.
What? You gonna shoot me? What's the point? I'm going to prison. You got me.
I don't understand any of this.
And you never will. Don't worry. Maybe you'll see me again, Agent. Maybe in the mirror.
The air in the visitor center was heavy with an awful smell, as if some rotten drowned thing had crawled up from its grave. Rusty kept coughing blood. My eyes were drawn to the twisted shape of his broken leg. The attack had been vicious. Max whined in his cage. Rusty's eyes were wild with fear and terror. He gasped. "Mr. Wake, it happened just the way it was on that page." Rose knew that Rusty was in love with her, and she liked him too. She liked him a lot. He taught her to dance, and life had certainly taught her the value of a man who was gentle. He treated her well, made her smile, made her feel good. But Rusty wasn't the prince of her dreams, and that tended to underline the unbearable truth. She was no closer to that Hollywood magic than he was. Left me weak. This was no hidden.
Rusty, hang on! I'm coming!
Please, help me! Anybody? Help me! Help me! Can you hear me? Anyone? Please, help! Back here. I'm back here. Hey. Mr. Wake?
Oh, hell.
It happened just the way it was on that page. I found. Came true. It knew. So dark. It'll come back for me. You must... The lights. In the office. I have the key.
Okay, Rusty. Hang on. I'll be right back.
Whatever did this couldn't be far. Rusty had found a page from the manuscript. It would help me understand what had happened.
Finnish culture, Finnish
The only way to
landscape,
make sure that Rusty
the
was safe
nature,
was to get the power
I feel
running
has
and the lights
been
back on.
one way or the other a part of all of Remedy game stories. In Alan Wake, obviously, we have light and dark in a strong role, and if we think about the seasons in Finland and the kind of the schizophrenic nature of winters being very dark and summers being all sunshine way into the night, there is an echo of that in the themes of light and dark. The Pacific Northwest landscape, everything is huge, but in Finland, the nature is much more modest. But beyond that, I feel that there are a lot of similarities in the landscape of it, and also Finland has a lot of small towns with larger than life, quirky characters, and you know, having spent all of my childhood summers in the countryside and in small town settings, it certainly is something that resonates and feels like a part of what should be in this story.
The visitor center was sturdy, but the impact turned the front of the building into splinters. Rusty was thrown across the lobby like a rag doll and hit the far wall hard. It didn't hurt until he tried to move and saw his leg bend the wrong way, felt the broken ribs stab. At the last instant, I changed direction and threw myself down. The axe splintered the trunk of a tree. I stumbled into the pool of bright light. My lungs burned. I was too exhausted to move. I tensed as I waited for the killing blow, but it never came. I raised my head. Nothing moved in the darkness beyond. For the moment, bathed in the cold light, I was safe. At the last instant, I changed direction. Someone had destroyed the circuit breaker. There was no way to get the lights back on.
Rusty!
was covered with oily patches that looked like liquid darkness. Something had torn a mammoth-sized hole in the wall.
Please don't feed the animals.
Fishing
Is only permitted
for those
visitors.
who purchase a park
Fishing
license.
instructions.
At all times.
Rusty? Rusty, no!
Two bears and wolves never approach any other closer than
25 yards.
pets must be leashed.
At all times.
Never leave your pet.
And unattended.
It is
Against the law.
to remove any
Natural object.
Still on the Finnish culture, I mentioned the horror movie screenplay I wrote, Undertow, and Anderson Brothers, Tor and Odin being a part of that
Forget
already.
about it, Barry. It's just me
Now,
going crazy.
that story is set in Finland, and yet we have Tor and Odin as Swedish-speaking Finns in there. Now, we never go into details in Alan Wake on their background, but they just might be Swedes, or they could actually be Finnish Swedes.